kids, and welcome to Disney Animation Reviews. I'm Josiah Milky.
And I'm Jordan Milky.
First of all, I apologize for this coming out a day late. My family and I were on vacation in Branson, Missouri. Of course, if you saw my Lady and the Tramp review, then you probably knew that. We just got back yesterday, and it was late, so we had to move the review ahead to today. So, anyway, today we're talking about Walt Disney's 16th animated feature film classic, Sleeping Beauty. This is Disney's third princess film. They did Snow White in 1937, and they did Cinderella in 1950. And they decided to do, or Walt decided to do Sleeping Beauty for his third animated fairy tale. It took almost the entire decade of the 1950s to make, largely because Walt wanted it to look different than any other film he had done before, and that's where they brought in Ivan Earl, who was a well-known guy, or I'm not sure if he was well-known, but his influence on mid-14th century Europe, where Sleeping Beauty takes place, his influence played a big part in bringing the story forward design-wise.
Huh.
Sleeping Beauty cost a lot of money to make, $6 million to be exact, and the reason it took almost a whole decade was because at the same time, Walt Disney was working on Disneyland, TV shows like the Mickey Mouse Club, and numerous live-action films like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Old Yeller. Sleeping Beauty finally released in early 1959, nearly a decade after Cinderella. Upon initial release, it got mixed reviews from critics and originally had trouble at the box office. Thanks to theatrical re-releases, however, it's gotten better reviews and is regarded as the second most successful box office film of 1959 after Ben-Hur.
Oh.
Story-wise, however, Sleeping Beauty, I think, is personally the weakest of the three classic Disney princess stories, Snow White, Cinderella, and this film. I'll explain why while we're talking about the film. So, we get opening narration, as we typically get with a princess story.
And we get the book opening. And by the way, love the book.
The design of the book is fantastic with the gold and jewels. It looks like people took a bunch of jewelry and stuck it on the book to make it look pretty. So I love it. The story begins with the birth of Princess Aurora to King Stefan and his queen. They've been longing for a child for years, and they finally have their wish granted, so everyone is invited to the palace to celebrate her birth, including the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, who bestow special gifts on the princess. The evil fairy Maleficent, disappointed at not having been invited to the party, arrives anyway and curses the newborn princess, saying she will prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die before the end of her 16th birthday. Luckily, Merryweather, the smallest of the three good fairies, is able to soften the curse by weakening its powers so that if Aurora does prick her finger, she'll just fall asleep until she's awakened by true love's kiss. This isn't enough to stop the king from worrying, though, so the fairies suggest they take Aurora and raise her in the forest as a peasant girl named Briar Rose, and they will care for her until her 16th birthday. For a while, it works out, as Maleficent's goons are unable to find the princess, but then, on her 16th birthday, the fairies decide they have to use their magic to prepare Aurora's birthday cake and dress, which the magic attracts the attention of Maleficent's pet Raven, and he goes to tell her that he's found the princess. Out in the forest, Aurora meets Prince Philip and falls in love with him, not knowing that they are actually betrothed to marry each other, which happened at Aurora's birth at the start of the film. Aurora goes back to meet the fairies and celebrate her birthday. That night, they take her back to the castle, where the curse is fulfilled, and she pricks her finger and falls asleep. Then, Maleficent tries to stop Prince Philip from reaching the princess by capturing him and taking him to her dungeon at the Forbidden Mountain. With the help of the fairies, Prince Philip must battle Maleficent's henchmen, and finally, Maleficent herself as a dragon if he's to awaken his Sleeping Beauty. Story-wise, I'm just gonna go out and say it right now. Aurora is the weakest of the classic Disney princesses. I read this in my Disney Who's Who book. She only has like 18 minutes on screen, and she only speaks 18 lines in the whole film. Previously, the only Disney character that had significantly less dialogue was Dumbo, who didn't speak at all.
Oh.
Well, really, even though the movie is called Sleeping Beauty, it's really the fairies, and at the end of the film, Prince Philip, who are the heroes. Which is a problem when you name your film after your princess, and she doesn't get to do much on screen.
Yeah, kind of a problem.
The good news is that the other characters are all very strong. The three fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, all have distinct personalities. Flora is the unofficial leader of the group, because she has the best ideas. Fauna's the peacemaker, trying to keep peace between Flora and Merryweather. And little Merryweather's a feisty little thing and gets upset real easily. Prince Philip is the first Disney prince that gets any sort of strong personality after the weak princes in Snow White and Cinderella, who didn't get to do much.
Yeah.
And Maleficent, boy is she one in a million. One of the best Disney villains I've ever seen. And we owe a great deal of that to her supervising animator, Mark Davis, who was the champion of female characters at Disney. Interestingly enough, he's the supervising animator on Aurora and Maleficent. But the other reason Maleficent is so fantastic, not only is her animation great, but she's voiced chillingly by actress Eleanor Audley. Walt Disney personally suggested her because of her work as the voice of Cinderella's evil stepmother, Lady Tremaine.
Oh, that's interesting.
Once again, the voice cast in Sleeping Beauty is pretty good. Along with Eleanor Audley, you've also got Mary Costa as the voice of Aurora. Aurora does have a good voice in Mary Costa. You can't deny that.
Right.
I think Mary Costa went on to be an opera singer after this.
Oh.
Bill Shirley is the voice of Prince Philip. And the fairies, animated by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, who I say were two of the great Disney animators at the studio.
I agree.
Flora's voiced by Verna Felton, who had done several Disney characters before this, like Cinderella's fairy godmother and the Queen of Hearts and Alice in Wonderland. Fauna's voiced by Barbara Jo Allen, and Merryweather's voiced by Barbara Luddy, who had previously voiced Lady in Lady and the Tramp, and later did the voice of Kanga in the Winnie the Pooh films. Pretty good songs, although the one notable song is Once Upon a Dream. First off, the musical score by George Bruns, who went on to score 101 Dalmatians and maybe a few other Disney films. The score was inspired by the score from Peter Tchaikovsky's ballet version of Sleeping Beauty, which is just fantastic.
Yeah. And
the song, Once Upon a Dream, which is sung by Aurora and Prince Philip in the Woods, and has gone on to be something of a Disney love anthem. There are some other good songs too, but Once Upon a Dream's the one song from the movie that I always remember the most when I talk about this film.
Yep, me too.
Sleeping Beauty went on to receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Score, making it the first animated Disney feature film in 8 years to be nominated for the Oscars since Alice in Wonderland, also nominated for Best Score. And it really is too bad that Sleeping Beauty didn't do so good at the box office in its initial run. Who knows what Disney films we could have seen if Sleeping Beauty had been a success. But as such, it was the last Disney princess film made by Walt Disney and released in his lifetime, and they would not return to the fairy tale until 30 years later when we got to The Little Mermaid.
Wow, that's a long time to wait.
I hear ya. Sleeping Beauty, I won't say is the worst Disney film ever. It's definitely not. But it's definitely not the best Disney film ever either. Especially when you compare it to the other princess films. It is definitely worth watching though. So, the film's latest home video release was its Diamond Edition Blu-ray and DVD release in fall of 2013. With classic bonus features like audio commentary and behind-the-scenes featurettes, one on the making of the movie itself, one on the sound, and one on Ivan Durrell and his artwork. And then new bonus features include deleted scenes, a feature called At Disney Animation, behind-the-scenes look at the creation of many of the Disney villains, like Maleficent, and a Once Upon a Dream karaoke sing-along. Sleeping Beauty doesn't have much of a franchise, but it does have a continuing story on the direct-to-DVD release Disney Princess Enchanted Tales, which came out in fall of 2007. In this one, Aurora actually does get the spotlight this time, as she's asked to watch over the kingdom while her parents, Prince Philip and his father, King Hubert, are at a royal conference for a couple days. The Aurora story, Mary Costa, I think Mary Costa is the only original actor or actress from the movie to still be alive. And she wasn't a big fan of the new Aurora story on Enchanted Tales. She felt it didn't work. But if you're not a Sleeping Beauty fan, that's okay, because Disney Princess Enchanted Tales also has a story starring Princess Jasmine from Aladdin. But we'll get to that later. On the more positive side of things, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather went on to be recurring characters in the Disney Junior TV series Sophia the First, where they teach the classes at Royal Prep, where Sophia and her fellow princes and princesses go to school.
And Aurora herself made a guest appearance in the first Christmas episode.
Holiday in Enchantia. A live-action reimagining of Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent, was released at theaters spring 2013. It got mixed reviews, but was a box office success. And I think, wasn't it nominated for, Best Costume Design at the Oscars?
Yes, it was.
Okay. In this version, Maleficent's the star, played wonderfully by Angelina Jolie.
And here Maleficent's part good, part evil.
Because she started off good, and for a while was in love with King Stefan, and vice versa. But then he was asked to kill her, but ended up cutting off her wings instead. And this is what made her go bad and curse Aurora. But in this version, she becomes closer to Aurora, and they become like mother and daughter, which complicates things when Aurora's 16th birthday comes up. I saw the film when it first hit theaters in spring of 2014, and my thoughts are kinda mixed on it. Like I said, Angelina Jolie's a great actress. I love her work. But I feel like taking the bad girl and trying to give her a backstory to show she's really not that bad, it's kinda, what is the word? Confusing, complicated, something like that.
I don't know. I saw it and I kind of liked it. I liked how Maleficent it grows more as a character, and Aurora, played by Elle Fanning, Dakota's younger sister. They're like, she's kind of the same, but she also grows, and actually she doesn't grow closer, and that's what I like.
Well, yeah. So Angelina Jolie's great. Good costumes, which explains the Oscar nod. But another big problem besides Maleficent being the star is that a lot of the characters aren't the same as they are in the animated version. The fairies are completely incompetent. Prince Philip barely shows up in the film. And the fact that they make King Stefan the bad guy, it's too confusing. If you want to see something better with Sleeping Beauty characters in live action, there's the Disney Channel original movie Descendants, and its sequel, Descendants 2. In the first Descendants, Maleficent's the main villain, played this time by Kristen Chenoweth, who also does a bang-up job, and the protagonist is her daughter, Mal. Of course, if you've seen the Descendants films, you know it's about Disney villains' kids going to high school with Disney heroes' kids. Now that's a better story to treat your Disney characters on with live action.
Also in that movie, Aurora has a daughter, Audrey, who, unlike her mother, is more spoiled and self-centered.
Right, but has to learn to get along with Mal and the other Disney villain kids. But if you haven't seen Descendants yet, that's a better way to enjoy a movie with your favorite Disney characters in live action.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts on Sleeping Beauty. It's a good movie, but it's not a great movie. I think it's the weakest of the three classic Disney princess films, with Cinderella being the strongest one and Snow White being in the middle. If you like Sleeping Beauty, more power to you. Again, it really is a shame that Sleeping Beauty didn't do so good at the box office in its first run, and we had to wait so long for Little Mermaid. But we've still got plenty of good Disney movies to talk about before we get to Little Mermaid, along with a few mixed bags. But if you haven't seen Sleeping Beauty in a while or at all, go ahead and check it out. I'm just saying, it's a good movie. It's a good Disney movie. It's just not a great Disney movie or a great Disney princess movie.
Right.
Well, we're out of time for today. Remember, when you wish upon a star, your dreams come true.
Goodbye!
Bye.